Welcome to the Network as a Service, Fast, Scalable, and Secure Networking for Less webcast. Thank you all for registering and joining us this morning. My name is Sam Myrick, and I am the Solutions Marketing Manager for Data Networks. And today we are joined by our networking experts, Dwayne Mackenzie, Solutions Architect from Data Networks, and Pete Fitzgerald, Senior Sales Engineer from Juniper Networks. Dwayne Mackenzie has over 30 years experience in the IT industry and 17 years with Data Networks. He brings extensive experience to our team and our customers. Dwayne is certified in many technology areas, specifically holding specialist level certifications with Juniper Networks for enterprise, security, and wireless solutions. Pete Fitzgerald is a senior sales engineer working for Juniper Networks as a service creation specialist. Pete has been with Juniper for a total of 5 years and has been working in the IT and networking industry for over 30 years. Pete has a passion for numbers, and in this case, the effects of AI on the total cost of ownership of a given solution. Thank you, Dwayne and Pete, for hosting this webcast today.
Thank you, Sam. Good morning, everyone.
Okay, so again, thank you for joining. So excited to have you all here. In today's agenda, we'll be covering a ton of things, but I'm going to break it down briefly of today's agenda. We'll be covering what is network as a service and some of the brief benefits associated with this. Juniper and Mist leading AI technology overview, a brief Marvis demo and answering this question, what it can do for you, Data Networks network as a service offering, and we also will be showing significant savings associated with network as a service. And finally, we will have time for questions at the end. Dwayne, I am handing this over to you.
Thank you, Sam, and welcome everyone. Pete and I are going to be taking turns here, so I'm just going to introduce what network as a service is. So basically, network as a service is exactly what it sounds like. A fully managed LAN and Wi-Fi solution for your entire campus network. This basically includes all of the equipment, all of the management, all of the ongoing troubleshooting, all maintenance, everything. And really, as a customer, you just pay a single monthly fee, very similar to how you have your cell phone. The networks exist out there, and you don't need to worry about that. You just pick up your phone and use it. Well, this would be the same for any Wi-Fi devices on your campus. So by having that ownership and management, maintenance, all of that on us as a contractor, that also frees up your IT resources. We have based our solution on Juniper Networks AIDE solutions, which I will now turn over to Pete, and then I will talk specifically about our NaaS solution after Pete does his presentation.
Sure. So I just wanted to give a quick history lesson on how we came into the wireless and AI space. As Juniper traditionally is probably not known as a wireless company. So in 2014, the folks that you see on the slide here, they were all working for Cisco, and they were the top of the food chain for Cisco's wireless products. And they said, you know what? We could do a better job. So they left Cisco and started Mist. They attracted Cisco's attention, and Cisco partially funded Mist. And they developed incredible AI wrapped around incredible technology. In 2019, Juniper came along and said, hey, we really like your technology. We like your technology so much. We want to wrap your technology around our technology. And we made them an offer. We were not the highest offer, but they liked our story best. And so in 2019, we joined forces, and the AIDE portfolio, or AI-driven enterprise portfolio at Juniper, was born. And that's basically us taking the AI that was developed by Mist and wrapping it around the access points that came along with the acquisition, the switching that we already have, and the gateways that we had at the time, and a gateway that we've added since then. And we'll go into more detail with that. So that is how the AI-driven enterprise portfolio at Juniper came into being. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to go across the top here and not bore you with all the details down below. But I think these are some key differentiators that set us apart from the rest of the folks in the world. And there's some things that you probably don't hear talked about in a networking conversation. For example, client level visibility. And I'm going to circle back on this a little bit later during the demo. But client level visibility is the $100 bill that was left lying on the sidewalk that everybody else stepped over. But we stopped and we picked up that $100 bill. And what that $100 bill is the ability for us to take a look at what's going on from the client and judge the network and the network health based on the client's experience. So our access points collect 150 different pre and post connection data states for every client on every part of your network every minute, and stores that data in the cloud. That data is our telemetry data, and it feeds our AI-driven operations and support, and it gives us incredible insights as to what's going on in your environment. And it makes troubleshooting easier. And what this plays out from a financial perspective to the end user is 70% less user-initiated trouble tickets with a Juniper Mist solution. And so, I mean, you think about that, that's 70% less interruptions, because every time a user has to initiate a trouble ticket, they got to stop what they're doing. They've got some kind of a problem. They got to initiate a trouble ticket. That takes time. Time is money. So the AI-driven operations support is fed by the telemetry data that we gather from the clients in your network. And this is very similar to, you're not going to see the traffic on your nav system by asking the highway. You have to ask the clients or the cars that are driving on the highway. And that's where that telemetry data comes from. The next thing I want to point out is microservices in the cloud. I bring this up because there's possibly a bad stigma that people have about cloud-based solutions where, okay, they're going to do an upgrade, there's got to be an outage window, blah, blah, blah. There are no outage windows. Similar to how Netflix adds content, takes content away, and doesn't have to take down the whole service to do that, we're the same way. The only way you're going to know it is you're going to have a new feature that you get to enjoy down the road. And then we're going to get into some of the higher brain functions, the digital enablement with virtual BLE, which is low energy. And I'll show you some of the benefits and the values of that. Next slide, please. So this is the portfolio that we have to work with. We have the access points on the bottom and a bunch of different flavors for a bunch of different environments, some indoor, some outdoor, some designed for classrooms, but all kinds of different flavors. Then we have next to that is our switching portfolio, our EX switches, which some of you may be familiar with, QFX switches, which are kind of data center centric switches. And then from a WAN infrastructure perspective, the traditional SRX gateway that we've had for a while. And then next to it, we have the Session Smart Router, which is kind of our next generation, which is an acquisition from about 2 years ago, which is 128T, which is a company we purchased. And they have they had a router that we liked, does lots of cool things with SD-WAN. Above that, we have a lot of the features and functionalities that the solution can offer: Wi-Fi assurance, IoT assurance, wired assurance, WAN assurance. The main thing I want to focus on in this page is Marvis. And Marvis VNA stands for Virtual Network Assistant. Marvis is the name that we've given to AI. So Sujay, the founder of Mist, is a huge Iron Man fan. And as you may know, if you're an Iron Man fan as well, Tony Stark had Jarvis. That was his AI. So because we were Mist at the time, when we wanted to name the AI, we named it after Tony Stark's AI, Jarvis. We just changed the J to an M for Mist. So Marvis was born. Next slide. Okay, now I'm going to fumble with taking over the screen. And you have to stop sharing. There we go. Let me try again. Take over the screen, and we're going to jump into the system. Okay, are we seeing that or no?
Yep, we can see it, Pete.
You can, you cannot.
We can.
Okay, very good. So, so this is the dashboard that you'll never see because it's a managed service. But I want to show you some of the reasons that we can deliver a lower total cost of ownership and how we do that for end users. So, real quick, we don't have someone on an operating table. This is not an EKG. What these are service level expectations. So the expectation of a certain level of service that we expect in this environment. So I'm going to pick on time to connect. Time to connect is everything through resolving DNS. And I don't mean to geek out any there, but that's through going out and being able to go www. And being able to resolve that to, being able to get to that site. And we say that time to connect should happen in 2 seconds or less. So when we read this, it's saying that 90% of the time we are connecting in 2 seconds or less, which means 10% of the time we are not. So if we want to diagnose that 10% of the time that we're not connecting in 2 seconds or less, we look over here to the classifiers. And we can see association is guilty for 72% of that remaining 10%. So we're going to click on association. And it's going to give us all kinds of information. And the goal of this is to isolate an issue that could be a major issue, but isolate it quickly. And that's what it's going to do. So if we look at distribution, this is all that telemetry data that I said we gathered earlier. And by going through here, red is bad, green is good, we can see kind of what's going on in different areas based on the OS type, what access points it's on, the device type, things like that. We can get different results and see, where the issue is. We can also look at the affected items, and here is where that telemetry data comes in handy, because we're not going to go from looking at a whole site to looking at an individual client and see what's going on with them. We're going to pick on Denali because it's a client that I know, and we're going to look at view insights. So this is going to give us all kinds of information as I'm trying to troubleshoot a single device, a single client of what's going on. And I can see here, here's all that telemetry data that we've gathered, and here's it played out and graphed out very nicely for us to see. But what I really want to get to is root cause of what's going on with this device. And as I look here, I can see here's a list of events, and I see these paper clips here and there in the events. So one of the other things that we do is when the AI sees an issue arise, we hold on to the packets for a little bit. And what the device does, what the AI does, it says, okay, I want to take those packets and I want to represent them in the dashboard so that someone who is going through and troubleshooting this can have easy access to that packet capture data and get to that root cause. We call this the video for every crime ever committed on your network. And this is how we can be a lot more proactive in troubleshooting things and seeing what's going on. Not to mention the fact that the AI is very resilient and it looks for issues. It looks for health checks on it. Does health checks for all the devices on the network. If something is bad, it tells you. If there's a bad cable, it will tell you. It is very, very resilient. Most of the time, the time spent in this dashboard is not really trying to troubleshoot network issues. It's trying to troubleshoot issues that are affecting the network, such as DHCP, such as DNS, and things like that. But that's that is how we are able to get to that lower total cost of ownership to the end users. This is how we're able to get to 70% less trouble tickets initiated, which means less downtime for you as a customer than if you were going with someone else. Now, if you move forward with a Juniper environment, here's some of the higher brain functions, is what I like to call them, that we can offer. I can go on about how we're in the magic quadrant, blah blah blah, for networking, but we're also in the magic quadrant for location services, the Gartner Magic Quadrant for location services, and we're the only networking company that's in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for location services, because we can do some pretty cool things. I'm going to show you real quick. So I label these as some assembly required because you need to build a lot of this, but it's really cool stuff. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at a live view of the initial MIST office in Cupertino, California. It's still early yet here on the West Coast, but as I'm looking around this environment, I can see things moving around. I can see Bluetooth clients. I can see users that are connected to access points. And as I move across this, I can see different zones highlighting and what are they? So we can build proximity zones. So if you have a door, and if someone comes into proximity to that door, or someone with an asset tag or some device with an asset tag comes to proximity with that door, and you want it to lock, it'll lock. If you want it to open, it'll open. One of the use cases for this was an Alzheimer's ward in a hospital where they would put asset tags on patients that were potential flight risks. And if they got near a door, the access point would sense it. It would send a little signal through an IoT port that would lock the door. So really clever things we can do with that. During COVID times, we built an application that would do proximity tracing, or contact tracing. So that if two employees or visitors to the company were in proximity yesterday, and then one of them tested positive for COVID today, we could go back and retrace that individual steps and say, okay, you were in contact with these 7 people, so we're going to alert them so they know that they were in contact with someone who now tested positive for COVID. So lots of cool things we can do with location. The other thing I want to show is analytics, and this is another cool feature that can be added. And what we can do with premium analytics is I like to use retail as an example, but the use case transcends past retail. So, and this is above and beyond what a network is supposed to do, and this is a result of that $100 bill that we stopped and picked up on the sidewalk. That we can do this. This is pretty cool. So if I want to look at customer engagement, let's say I'm a retail store and I want to, and I had a sale last week, and I want to see where the users of my network congregated, where they came into, where they went to in that store. I can have that data without doing anything additional. It's just I run the query, and it's going to show me the information. So real quick, it's going to show dwell times or monthly trend, loyal visitors. So we hold on to who's been here before, who's new. The trends for dwell time and things like that for day of the week, trends for day of the week as well. What I really want to get to, however, is down here where I can see, and you need to understand, of course, that the zone name would be something like housewares, bedding, shoes, or whatever, if this is retail. But this is basically on top of this map here, which is a startup. So areas are named, we have weird names for areas like EBC, NAP. I'm not sure exactly what they mean, but you can kind of get the idea of what's happening here when we take a look at, here is where users are moving from and to with your organization. All these switches on the bottom here, you can see they're moving from one location to another location. So if you are trying to tune your moneymaker, you're trying to tune your retail location to say, okay, I want to know how my users are using the network. First foremost, that's what's going to answer that question. But if I want to say, okay, I'm having a sale on X, and I want to see if my marketing was successful, because I want to see the amount of volume that marketing drove within the site. So really, really cool insights. I'm showing off just one of many reports that can show you all kinds of things in your environment, but really, really cool things we can do. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over. I know we're going to go through some financial stuff. I'm not sure whether that's up next or not, but Samantha, pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Pete. I'm gonna pull up, Pete, if you could stop sharing.
Yeah, I'm working on figuring that one out right now.
We know you love Zoom, Pete.
There we go.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen? Is the slide back up?
Yep. Yes, it is.
Awesome. Dwayne, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
That should be correct.
You there, Dwayne?
I'm here. I wasn't hearing anything. I didn't know if it was my turn yet.
Yes, it's all you. It's you. I appreciate it though, Dwayne. All you now. Absolutely.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Take it away.
So thanks, Pete, for going over kind of what the technology is that we built our network as a service on. So what Data Networks network as a service is truly an as a service offering. We are providing an end-to-end solution with no hardware related costs. What that means is no purchase, no upfront capital investment, no maintenance contracts, no subscription, nothing other than a single monthly bill with us providing the entire network. As I mentioned, we did build this on the Juniper Mist wired and wireless solution. And our network as a service, one of the things that really sets us apart is that it does include our managed service offering, which is our full remote management, monitoring, alerting, and reporting services. So what that is that truly is a 24/7 all year network monitoring and alerting. We are constantly keeping our eye on the network. We build our monitoring, especially on the wireless side, around those 12 client level service level expectations. So we are maintaining the network so that your clients can continue working. Rather than trying to keep the network up, we were really making sure that the network is there for you and for your users. again, with our MSP solution, we're responsible for identifying and solving any network related issues. The cool part about that is, since we are monitoring it constantly, we'll probably know that there's an issue and be out there to be able to take care of it before it interferes with your users, or that you even notice that that there's an issue on the network. Can you go to the next slide, Sam, please? I'm not seeing the slide, Sam.
You see it, Dwayne?
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Either I'm a little slow or I'm not sure. So I want to talk a little bit about the other options out there. So obviously, the way most people do their network now is they basically spend a large upfront capital investment on network hardware, and then they pay a yearly or for a multi-year contract for maintenance on that equipment, and usually for subscriptions for management. One of the downsides to that, obviously, is that this requires an entire IT team to do not only the configuration, but the ongoing management, maintenance, and troubleshooting. That's really where we are today with probably the majority of our customers, and we still work with a lot of customers in that environment. Some of our other offerings, and I actually did a little bit of research when I wanted to get into this before we actually partnered and created the service. And one of the things that I noticed was that a lot of people that are calling NaaS, and they're calling it a cloud-based NaaS, what it really is a cloud-based management platform where you have no hardware procurement costs. So while a piece of network as a service, the cloud-based NaaS really is just taking the cost of the hardware off, but it still forces management of the network onto the customer, that you're responsible for that configuration, for that day-to-day maintenance, and for any of the troubleshooting and repairing of network-related issues. So our network as a service truly is the pure 100% network as a service offering. Can you go to the next slide, Sam? Thank you. So the difference of our network as a service, and I really like that picture of Harry. He'll be one of the guys that comes out and takes care of the network for you. There is no upfront capital investment. So there's no large purchase of equipment. There is no requirement for you to make that huge investment and then deal with deprecating of hardware and all of the financial woes of owning a large amount of network hardware. There's also no ongoing cost for maintenance. So rather than every year getting that dreaded bill that shows up, not that we all don't like renewals, but yeah, that's not happening. You're not getting that yearly bill to do your maintenance contracts and subscriptions. Most importantly, there is no network management required on behalf of the customer. So what that allows your IT team to focus on your customer service rather than troubleshooting and chasing down gremlins in the Wi-Fi network. We're actually taking care of all of that. Your staff is free to be able to do more client-related, more customer-related, more application-related IT management, and you're not dealing with the plumbing of the network, as it were. And the way that our network as a service works is very straightforward. It is a single monthly billed service, and it is for 100% of your on-premise network. So what that includes, obviously, that's the wireless network, the wireless access points, the switching, routing, anything that actually requires that campus network to function. Can you go to the next slide, Sam? Again, one of the things that really sets us apart is that we do include all of our managed LAN and Wi-Fi. So once we provide all of the equipment without your expense, we then ensure that it is fully configured. We do the ongoing management of the systems, the ongoing maintenance. And really what we're doing as well is we're doing the ongoing configuration. If you have a requirement to make a change, rather than having to deal with that yourself, you do it the same way you would deal with change on a PC. You submit a trouble ticket. We take care of making those configuration changes and the ongoing management. One of the things about network as a service versus other, other as a service offerings, there is a bit of an onboarding portion of the solution, and I'm going to talk about that on the next slide, Sam. So basically, moving over to network as a service is very similar to doing an enterprise network upgrade. What happens to happen is we have to come in and we do have to replace either the existing network with our data networks equipment. So that includes all of your Ethernet switches, all of the wireless network. We do all of the upfront design work. That is, again, we're not relying on your staff for that. We'll do all the heavy lifting of doing all of the predictive heat maps and all of that to get the network up and running. And again, this is 100% on Data Networks to get the network up and running. Some physical infrastructure may be required, just to be totally honest. And since cabling is a part of the building, that is an upfront cost to the customer. That we do not include power and cabling and all of that. We do rely on the customer for that. But again, once the network is in place, it's turn it on and forget it for you. We take care of managing everything. I think we're going to do our ROI now.
Yes, Pete. Why don't you?
Okay,
Awesome.
all right. So here's where my passion for numbers comes to play. So the network as a service is, if you're a company that and your core competency is delivering networks, you're probably not going to go with the network as a service offering because it's the whole argument of core versus chore. So if you're a company that does anything else other than networking, network as a service makes a great option for you because it takes the effort and energy and expense that you would put into running and managing a network, takes it away so you can focus on the core, because that would be the chore. You can focus on the core of your business. So here's a quick mock-up that we did on what things would look like. So on the bottom, the really, really big bars are the old controller-based solutions that we're replacing left, right, and center. We are a cloud-based solution, and we are in a newer version of the cloud, so we are instantly global. So the second you are say, okay, we're gonna go with the solution, that cloud is available globally. But what I want to point out is, if I take a look up at the Data Networks NaaS solution, that is the lowest total cost of ownership option that is available for everything that's out there. Where a lot of folks are going to find themselves that are in the do nothing category, which is I'm still running. I've got a network. It works to a degree. It fits the bill. It's older. It's controller based, so it's costing me a lot more money. Not as flexible as I'd like it to be. But I really don't want to make a change. Well, the numbers here tell a different story. The numbers say, yeah, now is the time to change because you're hemorrhaging cash. It's like trying to keep that 1967 Oldsmobile running that's chewing up like 3 gallons per mile in a day where you have cars that can give either electric cars or cars that can give you 40, 50 gallons per mile per gallon. Sorry. But and when we take a look at it, Juniper managed, but what I want to focus on is resell. So resell would be where the customer owns it, and this is traditionally where people find themselves. So I'm gonna resell. I'm gonna buy the network, then I'm gonna build the network, and I'm gonna implement the network. And here's what the total cost of ownership looks like for that. Even in the new world of controller of cloud-based. As an end user, as a customer, I still have to worry about education. I have to worry about how do I keep my team up to speed on the networking trends, on what they're doing with the equipment. In addition to that, investment costs of money. I have to either borrow the money to pay for the equipment, or I have to take money out of the bank, which means my money's no longer making money for me. So there's a cost associated with that. And in addition, it's for a customer who doesn't really do implementation and management of networks as a core competency, it's going to be more expensive to do that as well. So the way I talk to folks about the benefits of NaaS offering is you can go to your CFO and say, hey, I got an opportunity here to save roughly a third, let's say very conservatively, a third over the course of 3 years. I add no assets to the books, and you're going to get a high five on that one. And I'm delivering a world-class experience first network. Does that sound like a good idea? And I think your CFO is going to at least give you a fist bump for that. So anyway, those are the numbers in a nutshell. I've spent a long time pulling this together, and they're very accurate. The source of data, by the way, on this is Forrester did a report on our solution a while back and highlighted the total economic efficiencies of the solution. So I just want you to know that the math for this did not come from, it's not something that I abstracted on a whiteboard. It's something that came from a third-party study that was an independent third-party study on what we're doing. So all very credible numbers. But anyway, Samantha, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Pete. So I think now we're going to jump into some questions. If anyone has any, feel free to put it in the chat or raise your hand. And while we're waiting to see if any of our participants today have any questions, I have one for you, Dwayne.
Okay.
So with Data Networks managing the network, what visibility does the customer have of the network operation?
Oh, that's actually a very good question. In the pure network as a service solution, there really isn't any requirement for the customer to have visibility into the network. Again, much like the way that your cellular service works, there's no need to go under the hood, as it were, to get into the network. Now, that being said, because we are including all of the Data Networks managed services, the customer does get the visibility of the reporting that comes as a part of our managed service. So those reports relative to how well the network is performing, where we're seeing issues, where we're not seeing issues, that all gets provided by Data Networks as a part of our MSP.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much for that, Dwayne. And then we have one more question as of now. Pete mentioned a ton of functions with Juniper Mist solution around location and asset services. Are these available with the Data Networks network as a service?
Oh, actually, that's also another very good question. So yes, there is a ton of functionality outside of the pure networking that is available with the Juniper Mist solution. With us providing the network as a service, and then, like as I mentioned, that overlay of managed services, that opens up all of that other functionality to become available to the customer. One of the things that Pete hit on was around location. If you were, say, a school or a college, and you wanted to be able to have a campus map where you had wayfinding, where basically I look at my phone, I see the map, and I say, hey, I want to go to the bookstore. And it can literally give you turn-by-turn directions because you're on the Juniper Mist network. And by tying into those location services gives you that flexibility to do that. And again, having your staff be able to focus on that rather than chasing down gremlins in your Wi-Fi network is a great benefit. So yes, that is also available. So.
Thanks, Dwayne. Okay, we do have one more question. Oh, it looks like he had his hand raised and then just signed off. So I will make sure to follow up with them. If anyone has any other questions too, feel free, to email us, Data Networks. If it's anything that I need to pass along to Pete or John at Juniper, we were happy to do that and get those questions answered. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a great one.
Thank you, Sam.